on. And stop me at any time, and this discussion can go anywhere at any time. This is what they pay me to do. All right, I've got 1,500 total hours piloting command. It's all been single-seat fighters. About 1,300 in the F-16. I fly with NVGs. I teach the targeting pod, and I've been a flight instructor at Luke for a while. I've been a trained crash investigator for quite a while and done several major crash investigations at LUKE Aviano in Italy and Balad, Iraq, which kept me very busy. Sergeant Fletcher couldn't join us, but that is okay. All right, Luke. We have 6 F-16 squadrons there, 4 dedicated to pilot production, and there's 2 foreign squadrons there. It's pretty interesting. Other countries, we have Singapore and Taiwan. Well, both countries just don't have a whole lot of open desert to train air-to-air and bombing missions, and they have enemies all around them. So we have permanent agreements with them, and they keep squadrons here to keep their pilots proficient. Their pilots are very good. And so this is not one where I say, look out for these guys because their skills are lacking. Not the case. They're very good, but they fly the exact same F-16s in the exact same areas we do, so that applies to them. About 160 permanently assigned Vipers, getting less and less by the day as we move around and retire this little airplane. And oh, by the way, the F-35, like I said, faster, louder, and more powerful coming this way. 6,800 personnel, military and civilian. We're going to have our air show coming up March 19th. Please show up. I'll be out there in my same blue truck. About you and 250,000 people will be there, so get there early and be prepared for weather.
Which team is going to be there?
The Thunderbirds will be there. And there's going to be an F-22 demo, a lot of civilian aircraft. I think right now we have over 27 ACs and almost everything on the entire Air Force inventory is going to be on the ramp.
Now, the week before, they're practicing.
Yeah, Thunderbird's going to be... Pull over the side of the road. Don't try to drive and watch these guys. We have more accidents during their practice because none of the roads are really shut down. And they're really good. I know personally 3 of the guys. I never wanted to be a Thunderbird, so that's me. But Luke Air Force Base is the largest F-16 training base and the #1 choice, or the #1 alternate, I guess, preferred alternate for the F-35 for that. Okay, myths about the F-16. We don't have TCAS. We talked about that. We have other things that will help us out. So one thing that really helped us out is you guys squawking mode 3 and C. Even if you're on a VFR flight plan, especially if you have flight following, we have what is called the Link 16 data link network, in which certain radar facilities can send us their surveillance tracks on one of my monitors in which I can see you. So even if my pulse Doppler fighter intercept radar, which isn't designed to find you guys, it's designed to find MiG-25s and MiG-29s, high speed at high altitude. If I can't see you on this tool over here, I can get some surveillance tracks of what they're painting you guys with their mode 3 and C. So that really helps.
What did you hear on that tape? You could hear it was picking up something.
Beep, beep, beep. That is, what that really was the radar altimeter off one of our jets hit, because they're in such close proximity, it was alerting on our radar warning receiver to that other guy. So that was a missile launch indication. And at war in Iraq, we'd be all over the place, but we know when we fly close to each other, our own sensors set each other off. So that's kind of interesting there. So talking, two-way radio communication, squawking, and flight following helps everyone involved for that. All pilots can see my IFF squawk. Like I said, not always the case, but if the radar or that RAPCON unit is putting out surveillance tracks, I can pick that up and soak that into my jet. So it really depends on where I am. Yuma can't do it. Down near Tucson, they're getting the capability, but up and around Phoenix at Luke, they will put out those tracks, and that is a huge help, especially if you're going to be in the Gladden-Baghdad MOA. I can see you guys all day long and take my little dogfight and my students who are way behind the jet and they're way task saturated, and I can move him away.
What's your prime? Are you mainly working above 10, or you're
all over? And I'll show you a little video here in a little bit. In a dogfight, there's only one way that dogfight is going, and it's going downhill. So even if I start the fight up high with our Pratt & Whitney 220 engine, it's not like the new 229s on our newer airplanes that can sustain that G. It just can't. So if we start pulling 7 Gs, that fight is going downhill. So, and now it's a rapidly maneuvering fight. So within a half mile to a mile diameter, you have two F-16s that are going downhill. with constantly changing vector, and we're really looking at each other and fighting each other. We're not looking out for you. So it is dangerous, and the Glad and Baghdad MOA, although legal to be in there, if you can go around, go around. And if not, two-way radio communication, and we'll avoid you. That is our contract, because we want to be good stewards to you. We don't want to set off your TCAS and send you guys flying either. So
when you say two-way radio communication, you mean with LUKE Approach?
LUKE Approach, you can let them know that, or whoever you happen to be talking to. I even have VHF frequencies for the airspace there, or for Snake Eye. We have a MOA monitor with that, and our MOA monitor is basically going to let us know on these frequencies, hey, at this time you got this aircraft 7,000 feet unverified in a northwest direction over Alamo Lake. And I just looked down, beautiful Phoenix day, I can see Alamo Lake and go, okay, there he is. Let's stay away from this guy.
You've got repeaters up there.
Yes, we do. Yeah, and I know on certain occasions the repeater on the white tanks hasn't necessarily been up continually, and I've pinged our communications squadron about that. It's all about money these days and availability, so we're taking cutbacks too. They try to make sure it stays active. Our
Can you use the black marker on the board? That way I can see it.
yeah,
There's a black marker on the left-hand side.
no problem. So let's see here. VHF, channel 15. Okay, we have channelized UHF. I'll have to dig in here for our VHF channelization. Yeah, most often a military aircraft is going to be speaking on uniform UHF communications. But, all right, these should be ones you guys are familiar with. So we have Luke, departure in the north. Most likely you guys are 118.15. And you can tell them you're going to transit. Oh, Snake Eye in the south and north are just on the uniform. Where are these guys here? Flight following. Tell you what, I'll have to owe you guys that because I don't carry the Victor frequency for these guys. But if you tell these guys that you're going to transit the Gladbag MOA and what your squawk is, they can pass the information through and make sure that we know. Okay. And all aircraft have radar and can see me. I'm sure the F-35, with its phased array radar, i.e. it's a radar without a dish. You know, ours has a physical dish up there, which is going back and forth and sending out radio waves to bounce off you guys, go back and interpret that. Well, it's designed off Doppler, so let's see if I can do my funny little diagrams here. You know, if I'm an F-16 traveling this direction and sending out this Doppler signal, and I've got a light twin aircraft over here, which is pretty much in a vector with no Doppler, i.e. he is 90 degrees out from my flight path. To my radar, which is built in the Cold War in the 70s and 80s, this much looks like a ground return or a car traveling on a highway, because it may take your 110 to 140 velocity in that azimuth and just go, I don't think that's a fighter. I don't think it's a cruise missile even. I'm going to ignore that return. So unless we have some sort of vector where at least, our V sub C shows us you going toward us, now we'll pick that up. We'll definitely pick you up. So just because we have a radar and we're out there looking and painting, I am more likely, or sometimes just as likely, to pick up that motorcycle on I-10 doing 180 flying down there, because he has more. He's a metallic structure that is doing significant velocity. So my radar goes, "Hey, check this out," and I go, "Yeah, but he's on the ground." So I have to commonly make that rejection myself. And this is the same guy who's flying the jet and trying to keep track of my student who's a mile away and about to hit the ground at any moment. So we're busy. And just because we have you on radar doesn't mean I see you and I'm actively avoiding you, especially at the speeds we're going to fly. All right, between 1985 to present, the Air Force has over 5,000 hazardous air traffic reports. And what that could be is not all near misses, but a lot of them are near misses, and they were significant enough to be filed. What that did not include is other military branches and other civilian databases. So it happens quite a bit. I'm not going to totally derobe here, but I'm getting a bit warm, so cool jacket is coming off. And most of these are between military and civilian aircraft. Okay, we're pretty darn good at hitting other military aircraft. We do that on a regular basis, but we're at least talking to each other. So these between military and civilian, a lot of it is just the fact that you're on one kind of radio and we're on a different one. And hopefully I can get you guys a little more familiar with the kind of flying we do and where we're at. Okay, an overview. I'll talk a little bit about LUKE air traffic control, to include our RAPCON facilities, our blind spots, and the SATR, and how we fly. And a lot of it, I'm going to give you an indication of how we enter and exit Luke Air Force Base airspace, because it's really darn close to where you guys are. And I passed the Luke AFB 1 facility, which is right down the 60 there, and that happens to be one of our biggest training areas. We'll talk about our range management. That's places in the south, and I'll talk a little bit about flight safety, like what I do. Okay. Air traffic control. Okay, they're going to give priority to separating aircraft, so they do the safety first. It's first come, first served basis. So the sooner you start talking to them, the more important they are to you. So, you know, I wouldn't just wait till you're right up on the border of entering when you can talk to them and give them a shout out early. And things I've talked to Roy about is I'm like, hey, call RAPCON ahead of time if the repeater's down and you can't reach them before you take off, and say, hey guys, this is me. I'm getting flight following. Can you give me a squawk? And I'm going to take off here in about 30 minutes from and give them your identifier. And they're going to say, oh, that is so cool, awesome. So in 30 minutes when you do take off, or an hour or the next day, you're not a surprise to them. And they've kind of built this little expectation and probably a place for you to get out of there. So it helps. And they like that. That's been tested. They love. Call them anytime. Call them, ask questions. They're rather bored with us.
I've called and they just basically, why are you calling me? I've called.
Really?
Yeah.
Who did you talk to specifically?
I even mentioned your name.
Really?
That's when they change their attitude. But it's just, well, just when you get up in the air, just, you know, call us on the radio. I said, well, I'm going to be right in your airspace and it's going to be a little too late.
All right. Good. I will make sure.
Write the number on the board so people, you know, the other
Yeah, I have it at the very end. I'll make sure I write it up on the board. That's interesting. So apparently I need to talk to Sergeant Fletcher again.
The only way I change your attitude was when I mention your name.
Mention my name at all times. They know me well, so yeah. Okay, that's interesting. I'll pass that to their chief. We'll talk about LUKE, the runways, facilities, pattern conflicts, the AFB 1, which is very close by, and the SATR, which is a very big interest to you. There it is, LUKE. We got 2 parallel runways, lovely 10,000-foot runways, roughly, with lots of cables. We're a 03 and 21 left. Primarily, we're going to take off on 21 left. That was the case until we had a recent accident. And so now primarily our runway is to the north. A lot of people who live around there have noticed the noise difference there. Also, an environmental study found that for noise abatement, if the F-35 did come here, or I should say when, that taking off to the north was better. So expect more of that to follow. So north flows for us. Still, we're going to be all over with our recoveries, and I'll outline where that is. Okay, here it is, LUKE ATC, class Delta up to 4,000 within a 5.6 nautical miles. Okay, it includes all this. In and around, we have Glendale and Goodyear down there. So it's pretty big airspace, but it's pretty congested. Almost all of LUKE traffic, actually all of LUKE traffic, is going to take off and either go north and to the west or to the south. We never go east because everyone wants to stay out of Class B airspace. It's not good for us, not good for them. They always want us to slow down and we can't. All right, so our arrivals to 2-1, go figure. If you see where this is coming from through the SATR and where you guys are way up in here, is we have a lot of traffic that's coming almost directly being or aiming right at the white tanks. The issue here is we're going to come out of 14,000 feet and down. So if you're out of the SATR and, like I said, doing this almost 90-degree path from where we're at, as we're in this descent from 14 to 55 is where it could give you some sort of TCAS advisory here, because we are in a rapid descent, and we're going to recover at least at 300 indicated, more than likely 350 on that descent here. We will maintain above 5,500 until we make this turn, like I said, if we're on a south flow to 2-1. Now, coming in from the south, probably not as big of an issue from you guys, but we're 100% going to, if we're VFR, go straight